Hello. Today we're going to do a bit of question and answer. We're going to make it a regular slot on a Tuesday. Today's question comes from Blair via the Cast Iron Facebook group. Was wondering if you could give some advice to someone who wants to pursue a career in S&C. Judging from your website, information videos, and training videos on YouTube, you obviously know what you're doing. Thanks, Blair. I was wondering if you had any general advice with regards to gaining experience, contacts within the industry. I've signed up for the BALA Level 1 and I'm going to do the UKSCA weightlifting and plyometrics next year. Thanks, Blair. The first thing to cover is qualifications. And if you want to work as a strength and conditioning coach within the UK or abroad, you primarily need the following. You require an undergraduate degree in sports science or related fields, so biomechanics, physiology, in America, kinesiology. Those are kind of the topics you want to study at undergraduate. It's pretty much essential to have some form of undergraduate degree in a science field, but primarily sports science, biomechanics, physiology, or in America, kinesiology. Those are what you want to study at undergraduate. You can go on to study postgraduate, like do like a general science degree, and then study sports science at a postgraduate level. But if you're only going to get one qualification at university, then an undergraduate in a related topic is pretty much essential for all jobs. Look for that. Abroad, the NSCA, that's the National Strength and Conditioning Association, they do the CSCS, which is Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. That's, if I can't remember, but you require a postgraduate or a undergraduate degree of any kind, and then it's like a 3-hour exam if memory serves. I can't remember. I haven't looked into it in a long time. I was looking to get it a while ago, but I didn't bother. Within the UKSCA, pretty much all jobs at any kind of part-time or full-time basis now require you to have full UKSCA accreditation. That's level 3. That involves a strength or a weightlifting assessment, plyometrics, speed and agility assessment. It's a half-hour written exam, multiple choice, and a case study of 3 months that you have to present on with rationale for why you've done it. And it can be on any sport you want, but you have to provide strength and conditioning support for an athlete or athletes in that sport. Any information on UKSCA you can find at www.uksca.org.uk. The UKSCA weightlifting plyometrics level 1 workshops are a great introduction into their material. If you're looking to pass the UKSCA, then I would encourage you heavily to engage with their content alone. There's anything wrong with the BALA stuff, the British Weightlifting Association. Nothing wrong with their content, just not necessarily the content that you need to pass the UKSCA. And if you want to go on and work as a strength and conditioning coach within the UK, then the UKSCA's content is what you need to pass. So I would heavily nudge you towards their content. If you know someone who's done the UKSCA before in the past, or someone who themselves has passed the accreditation, I would also strongly advise that you seek out someone like that for guidance, because it's quite a tricky thing to pass, and not necessarily because it's difficult, more so because they look for very specific things and they're quite harsh markers. So if you go in knowing what to expect, having learned the materials that you need know the materials that you're going to be examined on, then you're much more likely to pass than if you just go in having done a bit of general studying and not really engage with any UKSA stuff. Fail rate is quite high for a reason, because they're very harsh markers. But it's a good qualification to get, so I'd definitely go pursue that. And also, on top of an undergraduate degree and some kind of an accreditation with one of those two bodies, I hate to say it, but it's almost essential to have a postgraduate degree at this stage to stand out. It's not essential to have a postgraduate degree. It's more so the experience is essential. We'll touch on that briefly. A postgraduate degree in something like physiology, biomechanics, strength and conditioning, or even something like another qualification in a physiotherapy related field will help to stand out. But the main thing is experience, and to speak to what you wanted to gain experience, contacts within the industry. Just offer your services. Contact any sports club. So if you're in England, the English Institute of Sport, any professional teams around, any kind of institutes like Cork, Cambridge, DNA Sport. I think they're based in Manchester. Any strength and conditioning service providers that are near you, offer your services for free to them, and that's the easiest way to start to get contacts and start to get experience. Most of these guys will be able to pick and choose interns because demand is high. Not demand's high, supply is very high for strength and conditioning coaches. So we're at the point now where you can pretty much offer any internship and not have to pay for the intern's time because there's that many people that want to do it. My main experience for you, though, would be to accept that it's going to take a long time to get into this industry and get into a decent level and develop yourself as best you can. Read everything you can. Talk to all strength and conditioning coaches you can. The main thing for me is the practical knowledge. That's what's... when I worked with the Scottish Institute of Sport, we used to be attached to university, and we'd see people come through the master's program year in, year out. I was with the Institute of Sport for 5 years. I was on the master's program for a year, so I was involved in that environment for about 6 years. Each year I'd see different crops of students studying for the masters, and I'd see the same thing time in, time out. Would be people with sports science degrees who don't really necessarily appreciate training and the practices of training. So having done something yourself athletically, so being an athlete to a decent standard, being in powerlifting, being in weightlifting, being an endurance athlete, being an athlete or training yourself to a decent level will put you in great stead going forward, as it will help you to decipher what training information is good, what training information is not necessarily good, but it just gives you a better understanding of training at the fundamental level. And that for me is what separates a good coach and a bad coach when it comes to strength and conditioning, is someone who has a wealth of practical experience, either as a coach, which is difficult to get, or as an athlete themselves. So initially it's easier to get the experience primarily as an athlete and then get the experience as a coach. If you don't have experience as either, then you've got a long old road ahead of you. And accept that it's a 10,000 hour rule. It takes 10 years of full time doing something studiously to become quote unquote a master at it. So if you're not willing to spend the 10 years of footwork and the 10 years of time to master something, and I would advise you to do something else, because it's a very competitive market. It's very difficult to get into, and you can get into it and still be a crap coach if you don't have the theoretical background, the knowledge and the practical knowledge of getting results with people. And it's a multifactorial field, and it's easy to stand out if you're good, but if you're not good, then you won't stand out. Okay, I hope that's answered your question. Like I said, I'm going to try and make this a regular slot. If there's enough questions, I might make it by like Tuesday, Thursday, maybe. Currently, Tuesday should be enough to service the questions. I'll put a thread up in the forums. I'll ask anyone on the Facebook. Cast Iron Strength, we're on Facebook. Have a look. Obviously the website www.castironstrength.com. Get on the forums. You can ask questions there. I'm happy to answer anyone's questions, as long as it can be dealt with in a 10-minute slot. Okay, so that concludes this episode, and see you next Tuesday for some more question and answers. This is Mark signing off.